Before this episode came out, Biff Weed gave me a heads up that I should probably watch Gravity Falls in advance. He said that the humour of the show would be right up my alley, and that there's no way that they could analyse Bill without massive spoilers that, if known about in advance, would make the show significantly less impactful than going in blind. As one of the only people to have gone all this time without any spoilers beyond the general knowledge of Bill's existence, which you could hardly call a spoiler when he's at the end of every single episode's intro sequence, I jumped in, and I loved it. Gravity Falls ended up being a show that I genuinely really enjoyed. Bill Cipher may just be one of my favourite villains in animated media, perhaps up there in general as one of my favourite villains. My favourite kinds of villains tend to be in one of three categories at least. The ones that are genuinely relatable and can be understood, maybe redeemed. The ones that are borderline unstoppable forces of nature that can scarcely be recognised as existing to us because they defy the very concepts we understand as real. And the funny haha villains who are silly and goofy but can at the drop of a hat switch to absolute menaces that are genuinely terrifying and imposing. Bill manages to be the last one, with a touch of the second one added in too, which makes him right up my alley. Following that, I thought that maybe it was time to check My Little Pony off of my to-watch list. I am a lifelong Hasbro fan, but rarely step outside the bubble of Transformers, so to not check out their second biggest series and their flagship for girls one felt a bit wrong. I've wanted to for a while, but this time I finally just went in and watched My Little Pony Friendship is Magic. I got through 8 seasons, 5 movies, 4 specials, and over 20 shorts before the death battle dropped. And yeah, it's quite alright. Hating a show for its target demographic never seemed sensible to me, so I didn't have any problems enjoying it. And here I am now. Friendship is Magic is my favourite non-Transformers Hasbro show, Sunset Shimmer is one of my favourite characters in general, and Discord is also among my favourite villains in animated media, combining the third category I mentioned with the tiny touch of the first one, as well as being a reference to one of my favourite antagonistic forces in anything ever with Q, who also inspired Bill Cipher, but to a significantly lesser extent after the character was reworked in Season 2 to be more actively malevolent. And so, here we are. I'm now a fan of both series, a lover of both characters, so much that I even did fan art. I never do fan art for death battles, I can't draw. But here I am. I did Bill in the style of the stained glass windows in Canterlot that depict significant events, with the Zodiac Wheel, and I even drew the llama intentionally weird to reference how the main 6 are often depicted in those murals. And of course, Discord was done in the style of the journals from Gravity Falls. Basically everyone I know did just journals and that's it. The different thing I did was not just recreate Bill's page, but go for something different with the Canterlot stained glass, you know, switch them around. I thought a bit more creative. Then the episode dropped. What do I think of it? Well, let's go through. First off, this episode contains a ton of little just fun references and cameos in it, and while I'll be naming all the ones that I could spot on my second and third viewings, my first viewing was 3 AM in the morning, and I was quite tired, I obviously won't be able to catch them all. Bill Cipher may be an all-seeing equilateral deity, but I'm just a pumpkin. From the beginning, the episode clearly is not normal. Ignore the Rooster Teeth logo. Bill and Discord's title cards are off at least a tad. That is something I actually really like overall with the episode, I should note. Most of the fourth wall breaking is quite subtle. The fight and cutaway gags are very in your face, but the majority of the fourth wall breaks take place within sidebars and in the editing, which works really well for these two. We'll also talk about those cutaways later, of course, but overall this style of fourth wall break plays off a lot better than how I think some people expected it to. So yeah, Bill is in front of his title bar and the name is off floating in the middle of nowhere, and Discord's is entirely flipped upside down and phasing in and out of existence. Bill Cipher's analysis is glorious. It treats Bill exactly as it should. Not like necessarily just a character, but like a threat. When they talk about his powers, it's not like they're going on about how cool or badass he is, but rather how terrifyingly overwhelming he is. A cosmic horror that the hosts are trying their best to explain in any meaningful way. Oh look, here's the wall. There's a fun reference about how people don't shut up about the beaker, there's a toilet to represent where all the opinions that aren't mine belong, there's John, a random Yautja of indeterminate origin and identity, Tai Lung, the end reveals 8, which I'm just gonna let everyone else have fun with, and what I assume is a cereal mascots royale reference too, and some fourth wall breaking from Discord as well. Oh, and Skeletor. Also, there's no not death battle reference in the entirety of this episode. That makes me so unhappy. Anyway, when they actually drop Bill's name, we also get this sidebar, and I love this here. Not only is this a fun reference to the statement that we cannot possibly hear Bill's real name without fucking dying, but every name here is actually a reference to a user within the official Death Battle server. At least, I mostly recognize users from there, which is absolutely based. A great love letter to the fans who are supporting Death Battle without being in your face about it. Even Don gets to show up, as does Huan and my son and my little sister, and a few other friends of mine like Huntsman and Bang Jang. I couldn't go naming all the people I know who I'd noticed show up and go grab screenshots of like Larry Winwood, Fade, Time, Kingsley, Meatloaf Man, LK64, fellow Australian B, and so many more. I recognize so many people, and that's just sick. but I'm not in it. I also love below that, just you can see Bill and Discord breaking the fourth wall here. Bill adding these things to sidebar in yellow and Discord just commenting on them. It's fun. Bill writing in all obnoxious caps like he's streaming, of course matches how he all caps locked his way through the AMA on Reddit while possessing Alex Hirsch. And Discord writing all fancy just kind of fits him. Also, Bill's sidebars in this episode are noticeably darker in color than Discord's. Like, they also look like they're burning. Again, fitting the contrast these two have. Also, look, the shockwaves, that's funny. And then there's the cutaway! Fucking ace. I mean, I don't find it funny, per se. The jokes don't do anything for me, but I love the idea of revealing Bill in the background of previous episodes this season. It's awesome. Also, Boomstick getting Bill out of Wiz by smacking him into his own hand by accident that's kind of amusing, I'll admit. Plus, I really like how the way they have him break the fourth wall and interact with the host is through the one way we've seen him actually do that in Gravity Falls. Specifically, as I mentioned, the AMA, where he possesses the series creator to interact with the people asking the questions. Bill directly showing up near the host isn't really fitting with the way he normally breaks the fourth wall, but this works quite well. And I like Ringmaster's cameos of getting his job taken from him by both Boomstick and Bill Cipher at the end. And there's a reference to the director of the episode here, who is named Bill. Fun. The Schrodinger's cat segment is also great. I love a bit of philosophy, I studied it for over a year and all, and this was just fun. Also, there's Helsing Schrodinger, who I choose to take as specifically being used here because of Dio card and the prevalence of the Schrodinger argument. My one issue with Bill's analysis is probably the unicorn hair thing. I know what they were going for, but it does seem weird that they do talk about unicorn hair as if it's a genuine weakness to Bill, but the corner box here outright says it is not. Which makes the, yeah, seriously, that's his weakness line come off as a bit weird. But it ends with the final shot of the show, on the note that we can only hope that Bill is never coming back as the analysis ends. A borderline perfect analysis done exactly the way I'd want an analysis for Bill to be done. And then there's Discord's analysis, which starts kind of funky, not the actual writing or anything, that's neat. Rather, when Discord laughs, which I'm pretty sure is a laugh delivered by the voice actor for him in this death battle and not the actual clip from the show, you can see the ending few frames of the animation repeat because the clip wasn't long enough to fit the laugh and be timed right. It's a bit distracting and awkward, one of the very, very few blemishes in editing this episode has. But then we get Cable vs Booster Gold dropping, which is based and crossover X reference, and Batman vs Ryu, which is very cute. And also a reference to his alleged drinking game with Sideways that I audibly cheered for, as much as I could at 3 AM in the morning when everyone else was asleep, that is. Love seeing some Sideways rep. Also more fun fourth wall breaks, that's neat. Also the thumbnail of the episode is on the breakfast cereal box, which is hilarious. Gotta love seeing Q as well, adore Q. And also both calling out the unnecessary pony bashing from past episodes and having Boomstick develop past them was great. As well as mentioning his daughter for the first time directly since Tatsumaki's preview, I think? That kind of based? I don't count the Ryuko analysis thing, that's an indirect reference to the fact that he probably has a daughter, if you want to call it that. And it transitions to Discord's development as well, which is pretty cool. So it's not just taking a moment out of the analysis to randomly bring it up, but it actually transitions smoothly into what we're talking about. Also, Fluttershy is my favorite of the main 6 too, but canonically the best pony is actually Rockhoof. I do think when they go through his abilities it's a bit fast. Not that the script went too fast, I mean that this sudden cut to a comic panel with no transition in or out almost felt like a flash frame the first time I saw it. It did take me out of it. But I do love when they go over his powers and they essentially just go with, yeah, he can do yes. Then he gets his cutaway, which at first is pretty whatever, blasé, but it ends with him snapping Wiz and Boomstick into being Ben and Chad, which, that's great, I love it. I do think the error message at the end goes on for slightly too long. I was done laughing and I was like, alright, what's next then? Which, it's not a big deal. It's very slightly too long. And Discord directly interacting with the host fits how much more direct he is at fourth wall breaking than Bill. The next sidebar is an absolute fucking gem though. We get a normal sidebar, and then Discord just slides up his own sidebar, and this bit at the end is fucking golden. I love this little interaction where Discord's talking himself up and then they start just being snarky and jabbing at each other. And then they have the fucking Thor speed meme when talking about Discord's speed. That's fucking ace! And ends with Wiz and Boomstick being all friendly. That's sweet. I've mentioned it a lot here, and of course I can say at the end now, the episode's editing is absolutely phenomenal. A whole other echelon from what we've seen since. What we've seen since? We've not seen any episodes since as of me recording that. From what we've seen prior. I don't think it's really comparable to them bringing comic pages to life because it's not going for the same thing, but rather it's editing that plays incredibly well to the characters. Bill's analysis felt more actively glitchy than Discord's and darker too, while Discord's is naturally more kiddie and light. They're both just fucking excellent analysis segments, my favorites of the season by far, and some of my favorite in the whole show. Absolutely phenomenal job. This analysis alone would probably put the episode skyrocketing into top 3 episodes this season. But let's see how I feel about this fight to really peg where I rank it. First off, there's Red Runner, hey buddy, and I think that's a reference to Anne versus the protagonist of the Owl House, and there's some kind of Viking tomato, and hey, there's a Range Rover. The start of this animation and the setup is basically perfect. Bill has begun Weirdmageddon in Equestria, and already made his throne of the ponies turn to stone. The throne of just all copy-pasted generic ponies, unicorns, and pegasuses. And one particularly great and powerful one too for some reason. Including Celestia and Luna on the armrests as his nice little ornaments, and the main 6 as banners. Of course, referencing what he does in his show. Discord then arrives a bit miffed about the whole situation too. Weirdmageddon looks absolutely gorgeous, and the animation all episode looks stunning. And I'll mention my personal highlights as we go along, but just know I think this is the best looking episode of the season. Free. Like, better than all the others combined. Everything in this episode is a visual treat, and everything that's not, I will bring up. I don't think I brought up anything though. I think I brought up one thing later on in this script. Discord flying through the banners too is fun, and it might be a nod to when he flies through the stained glass windows in his first appearance. And I also love that Bill doesn't really give a shit that Discord is there until Discord brings up friendship and Bill just wants to barf. Which not only fits him, but I think also makes me imagine the main 6 waffling on about friendship before they were defeated, and Bill's just sick of it at this point. Also, Discord managing to hit Bill's eyeball while his eye was closed is such a Discord thing to do. And the giant hand smacking Discord is really funny and such a Bill thing to do. I love the implication with Discord having all these pies ready, that he was prepared to defeat Bill using an arsenal of only cream pies. And of course, he then continues to hit Bill with dessert, which is probably a reference, I believe, to the premiere of Season 9 and maybe some other things, but it's just really funny. I love how it continues to escalate with more and more stuff until the cherry on top. And Discord's holding the bell in his hand that makes the sound too. Then Discord drops a really lame pun, and Bill destroys the delicious treat with a fucking rim shot in response to the pun. Oh, hi Sans. Bill then lifts the whole animation up around him, which is such a Bill thing to do. And hey, I think I see Starlight Glimmer, which perfectly fits how whenever she's not in the spotlight, she's being excluded entirely from whatever's going on. What comes next is just a wave of references and cameos, and I'll name what I could identify before talking about the scene itself. The weird Viking tomato is back, there's Origin the PogChamp as a pony, Ringmaster as a pony, the Death Battle Season 10 Cipher is visible within the blast that Bill shoots from his eyes. Red Runner's back, but still as a Zendron and not as a pony. Doctor Who and Rick are fighting in the background, a reference to Doctor Who versus Rick Sanchez, the Doctor versus Rick Sanchez. Pony Mabel and Dipper grapple gunning around, and a ton of other ponies that I might not get who they're a ponified version of or couldn't see in all the chaos. It's great, and this scene is fucking glorious. Not just for all the references and Brandon's vocals in the back with the track, but the utter chaos as the background shifts and spins and the characters move independently of it. As usual, what would normally come off as a weird animation mistake in the context of these two comes off as their normal nonsensical chicanery. The cameos also offer more than just fan service. They established we're not just seeing these two flying upside down, like they're not spinning around themselves and the camera's just tracking them. Rather, they're basically completely still and it's all of reality spinning around them. These fellas are flying all over the place as a result of that. And Discord rising up behind Bill is glorious. The animation looks almost straight out of My Little Pony. I know it's not necessarily the hardest show to replicate the look of, it is fairly simplistic, but the fact that they got it to look this good is still worth noting. And turning Bill into a Dorito is of course a fun reference to the whole Dorito jokes and shit. And the Euclidean geometry line implies that Discord regularly eats geometric polygons, which is fucking great. Then his head explodes, and Discord just pops back up out of nowhere, pissing Bill off into throwing hands. A perfect sequence of events that fits both to a T. Also, I love how you can see all the liquid in the world flowing downwards. Like, it's a change they did not need to make to the background, but it sells how everything has been flipped perfectly. We then get some fucking phenomenal moments of animation change, 2 of which I predicted would be in the episode, but the rubber hose animation took me off guard. The claymation segment, brilliant. Especially for Macho Man and Kool-Aid Man falling in the background. It rather indirectly fits into the idea of these two having been in past death battles the whole time. And also Among Us Bill Cipher, fantastic. The Rubber Hose Discord Noogie is great, and Bendy and Cuphead appear in the background, calling back to the best DBX of all time. And then there's a sock puppet fight, which is really funny, and also a great way to let Discord do some cosmic horror shit. See, Discord is still kind of a cosmic horror like Bill, but he can't get away with showing it off as much in his show due to its child-friendly nature. However, in the form of a sock puppet fight, he can get away with a hand ripping its way out through his body and out the mouth without it being mortifyingly unchild-friendly, which is amazing. And also really funny, and a great way to get another finger snap as that's how he does all his magic. The two Pac-Manning around the screen to grab each other is also great, as is them using each other as toys to fight. That's amazing. It's also culminated with just great dialogue, and it has come to my attention that not everybody is aware of anything to do with Star Trek in this community, so let me explain quickly Bill Cipher's joke, because I've seen a lot of people asking what that was about. Some of you might know that Discord is based heavily on Q from Star Trek The Next Generation, who is portrayed by John Delancey, who also portrays Discord in My Little Pony. Aside from like the times where it wasn't him, but you know, in the main show, it's John Delancey. Q's best friend, more or less, is Picard, the protagonist of Next Generation, or yeah, I call him the protagonist, Jean-Luc Picard, who would later come back with his own show called Picard, which famously sucks. So, what Bill's referencing is Code of Honor, the 4th episode of the 1st season of Next Generation, a famously bad episode for its very uncomfortable racial undertones and absolute embarrassment of an episode, and something that no Trekkie really wants to talk about. Probably my least favorite episode of Star Trek, aside from maybe These Are the Voyages, the finale of Enterprise. I loved Enterprise, like all shows. That finale was so dog shit. But basically, Bill Cipher saying that Picard's show is so bad that it's worse than one of the worst pieces of Star Trek media to ever exist. That's the joke. That's what he's referencing. It's funny. It's really fucking funny if you have the context to know what he's talking about. But I understand that's a joke that would have flown over a lot of people's heads. I thought it was fantastic. One of my favorite jokes in the episode, actually. But that's just, like, as a Trekkie, hearing a Trekkie reference on the show, on Death Battle, makes me so happy. I love Star Trek. Like, to death. Alright, back to the actual scripted part of the review. We get another one right afterwards, with Discord wanting to play a different game and bringing up dice for roleplay. A reference to both his own love of the D&D ripoff Ogres and Oubliettes or whatever, and also probably a reference to Dungeons and Dungeons and more Dungeons too. Bill's I Love Checkers into a giant chess piece crush just feels perfect, especially because they chose a knight piece, because horse. Then Discord invades Bill's mind and, hey look, scissors. Ben vs. Hal reference? That one probably isn't intended. That said, Ghost Discord has a few moments where his animation is maybe a little choppy. It's not too bad considering the quality we have throughout the animation, but it is notable that he looks less animated and more motion tweened with how his limbs move sometimes. The rigging is a bit more noticeable than normal, but his line is awesome. I love the delivery, and hearing Discord actually say the word die has a lot of impact given how they skirt around that kind of stuff in My Little Pony. It's also a great way to have a Mindscape battle, because Bill can't enter Discord's mind without a deal that would be awkward to implement, and flipping the switch and having it happen to Bill is both a fun way to get Bill's reaction to the whole situation, and also to show how they basically share the same powers. Bill also gets probably the angriest he's been all fight and response, which perfectly fits how, you know, Discord's stealing his shtick. And the animation for Giant Red Bill is fucking phenomenal. I also love how they reference Bill Cipher's death in the show with the animation, both because it looks great. The animation here looks fantastic, but it also shows how close Discord actually got to genuinely killing Bill in the fight without having Bill look weak or uncharacteristically distraught over it. Bill still comes off like an all-powerful eldritch monster, but this moment of weakness visually demonstrates how close the battle ended up being. And also, both get to show off their regeneration at multiple points too. Discord having already lost his body still brings close to death, and that's great. The all-seeing God bit is both raw as hell, zooming out to show Bill's eye replaced with glass, but it's just so impactful. Something about the 3D turn as they reveal this is now Pyramid Bill, which is not even a super form, but it's just so impactful. They show he's so pissed that he's gone with the 3D pyramid look, and he plunges his hand into his own fucking eye to reach into his mind and rip Discord out of his head? That's fucking amazing. That looks fucking amazing. The voice acting is fucking amazing. Fucking brilliant. This is amazing. I fucking love this. But my favorite part of this fight is Discord on the cusp of dying, laughing in the face of his to-be killer, and revealing that he brought Bill back to the nightmare dimension, saving Equestria and all of his friends as reality crumbles one last time and Bill realizes he fucked up. Bill's tunnel vision is in the fight, but because he has to win, because they determine he's the winner, he couldn't use it in the same way it's used in the show. Instead, Bill's arrogance did not stop him from defeating Discord, but it stopped him from seeing what Discord was actually doing at the end. As smart as Bill was, he was too enraged by Discord entering his own head and doing his own thing to notice as Discord pushed him into another dimension. Well, actually, technically they've been there since the Discord finger snap in the puppet scene. You can tell it was an illusionary version of Candlelight the whole time because it's no longer flipped around and the colors are off, and even the big weird Mageddon X is the wrong color. Not to mention, you know, all the ponies and monsters that were floating around are entirely gone. Yep, not the point. The point is that Bill was so focused on killing Discord that he didn't notice. Tunnel vision, plus, ironically, him being so pragmatic, which they said was an advantage he has in terms of winning the fight, and is going for the kill, ended up being what stopped him from winning overall in terms of destroying Equestria as he intended. You understand what I mean? Back into the nightmare realm and cut off from reality again, all because Discord cared to save the people that he loved. Something that Bill could never understand, because Bill doesn't get that. Bill doesn't get the emotions that Discord feels towards the ponies, the fact that he does care about them. He's not even thinking that Discord would do something like that, so he gets the tunnel vision that they mention in the conclusion, and by the time Bill realizes what's happened, he's already lost. Yes, he can kill Discord. Yes, he can come back eventually, but he failed at what he was planning from the start. We see Equestria free. The main six recover from their defeat after being liberated from Bill's magic, and Bill cannot reach them in time. Even as Discord dies in Bill's hand, screaming in blazing agony as his soul is destroyed, he still laughs in the face of the winner, because Discord did as he intended. He saved his friends, leaving them nothing but the note that he wrote at the start of the fight so that they know who saved them. A note about a lesson in friendship. He did teach Bill a lesson about friendship, that friends will sacrifice themselves to save each other. Something that Bill didn't really register. Bill didn't get it. Discord taught him that lesson, even if Bill probably didn't really learn it. The bittersweet elements are only exemplified by the fact that in writing this note, Discord isn't just telling the main six what happened and that he saved them, he's also telling them how much their friendship really did matter to him. Discord, while in his normal sideways nudge instead of direct pathway, is telling his friends that they did change him. He never would have done any of this before they met, but in becoming his friends, they turned a monster, someone as potentially chaotic and nasty as Bill himself, into someone who is willing to sacrifice it all just for the ponies he cares about, even if he may never see them again. It makes Discord's laugh at the end even better to me. Not only is he laughing at Bill, mocking him for his stupidity and his arrogance, how he'll be trapped and how he just got royally fucked over, but he also laughs after seeing the main six are okay, that all the ponies he cares about survived. That's all he wanted, and that's why he can laugh in the face of his death. It's not just him laughing at Bill, it's also him relieved that his plan worked. A perfect way to finish the animation. And then Bill fucking loses his mind, which looks beautifully animated. And not only does Discord get the perfect final line, but so does Bill. As he recovers from his boiling piss fury to a state of more tranquil fury, looks into the camera and grabs it, hoping to use one of us million-plus viewers to get free again. In every way, this animation is absolutely stellar. It captures a perfect balance of comedy and action, with fun but not intrusive fourth wall shenanigans, and finally in this season some actually kick-ass banter. Not just for comedy as is expected in this episode, but some genuinely raw lines and back and forths. It also tells a better story to me than basically any episode this season. Discord as usual shows up late to an event. He didn't save everyone when they were fighting Bill, where their powers combined may have been enough to stop him, but the fact that he showed up to help at all speaks worlds about how he's changed. He gives it his all this fight, and while we can't tell at what point he realized he couldn't win, we can tell that there came a point where he chose to throw away his own life to save those he cared about most. Hell, for all we know, maybe Discord was aware from the start that he couldn't win, and he actually did write a letter talking about how he gave his life to save everyone against a force he couldn't beat from the start. That's also a possible way to interpret this whole story. But he forced Bill to get more and more enraged until he was focused solely on killing Discord, giving Discord the opening he needed to send Bill back home and ruin his plans. Bill won the fight. He was a survivor, he killed the opponent, but Discord was the one who succeeded at his main goal. It fits perfectly as a narrative, making Bill win in a way that doesn't feel depressingly sad and like a classic case of, wouldn't it be so funny if the kid-friendly show went all dark and edgy? but rather it succeeds in making both characters seem smart and powerful to have won in different ways against one another, just that Death Battle is analysing the way that Bill won as important. All while coming off as genuinely super close, with the two doing real damage to each other once they're serious, but also recovering from almost any damage until one just gets hit too hard to recover. The fantastic writing, fanservice, direction, and choreography is carried by some of the most expressive and fun animation yet. Am I miffed that this wasn't entirely hand-drawn? Yeah, but actually no, I'm fucking not. Hand-drawn is a lot more expensive, and with the expressiveness with which the sprites are animated being this good, I don't care. If making it look slightly nicer by hand-drawing it would sacrifice all the fun moments, the fanservice Easter egg references, and the sheer amount of stuff, it wouldn't be even remotely worth it in my eyes. I'm actively happy this was sprites and not hand-drawn, because the money spared on making it visually look a bit more appealing went into making it so much more dynamic, full of action, and fun. When they do go hand-drawn, it looks fantastic, and the 3D rendered background and elements are just gorgeous, all complementing some genuinely raw and impressive looking shots, like the aforementioned giant Discord, Pyramid Bill, the entire Mindscape fight, Bill nearly dying, the spinning world battle. It's all fantastic in every way, and I do not believe for a second that if it was all hand-drawn, it would have been even a fraction as good unless this episode was given a much higher budget than normal, which likely wouldn't have been possible, or would have made future or previous episodes suffer as a result. I mean, maybe it already has a higher budget. Maybe that's why some of the previous episodes' animations were shorter than normal. This is one of the longer animations in the season after all. That's not me saying for sure it does, just I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not in on the loop on all this. And the voice acting. Oh! John, which is all I'm saying because that last name I would absolutely butcher, does a brilliant job as Bill Cipher, capturing the indifferent, snarky, and smarmy tone of the character for most of his lines, but being able to play up the anger, spitefulness, and malice at a moment's notice to really make it feel like Bill has jumped straight out of Gravity Falls and into Death Battle. It's basically flawless. The final line deliveries are hauntingly good. The all-seeing God line I think was an absolute highlight of the vocal performance personally, and the desperation at the end feels like it was delivered flawlessly. Paul Guyette then doesn't necessarily capture the exact sound of John Delancey for Discord, but does capture the inflection of Discord basically perfectly. It's not a perfect impression, but it is extremely good at getting the feel of the character. I can believe that this is Discord. He sounds basically how I'd expect Discord to sound when it comes to how the lines are delivered, the snark, the playfulness, the arrogance. He delivers everything amazingly, especially everything from the Mindscape onwards, and having a fantastic death cry that sounds simultaneously like Discord is in agonizing pain, but also like, even to the end, he's just laughing in Bill's face. Bill's face being, I guess, his entire body. And keep in mind that when I say the exact sound of John Delancey wasn't perfectly captured, this is coming from someone who's watched Star Trek The Next Generation like 10 times front to back and adores Q, with Discord having a very, very similar manner of speaking to Q. You know, that kind of, when I'm in the room it's all about me, not because I'm arrogant, but because it quite literally is all about me sort of mannerism. Two phenomenal performances, and speaking of acting, DJ does a great job in his legendary role as Denny's Fiend. The emotion, the depth, the nuance. What a stunning performance, deserving of an Oscar for Best Actor of the 2020s. That's right, I don't think this performance will ever be topped for the next 7 years. A gold star, my friend, you deserve it. Because her editing was fucking fantastic. And then after that absolutely brilliant animation, we get a conclusion. I haven't exactly timed if this one is longer than normal, but it felt significantly more thorough than any conclusion we've had this season. It goes super in depth and it's great. They even included the dubious intent card where My Little Pony directly referenced Bill Cipher through Discord, and the little corner box about Discord may come back actually adds a bit more hope to the end of the animation. Bill won the battle, but in a way both of them might be fine. Eventually Bill will get out again somewhere else, and eventually Discord may reform in Equestria given enough time. I also do like that an element of who wins came down to their pragmaticism. Bill's one time encountering a cosmic opponent, he went straight for the kill, while Discord consistently is a bit more carefree and playful. That said, having context for when they bring up threats he doesn't take seriously until they're too late, I worry that choosing to show the scene of Starlight Glimmer banishing Discord's physical body may have been a bad choice, because I worry that people are going to latch onto this to argue against the episode. After all, according to writer Nicole Dubuc, Discord was not only unhurt, but actively looking for Starlight to do that. I feel people might use this to argue against the episode's entire inclusion, by bringing up that this one clip that was played for a single argument is wrong because that's not what was happening, when like You know, people are going to argue that most likely, but there are other examples of what they're bringing up. Literally, his debut two-parter in Season 2 has him do exactly what they're saying he does when he doesn't take the main six seriously as a threat when they come back to use the elements of harmony, and he straight up stood there and did nothing to stop himself from being stoned. That's not even the first time he's done that. I mean, the first time he faced the elements of harmony, he was too busy singing to take them seriously and get whomped, which we even see in the analysis. So I'm not trying to argue Death Battle's wrong. I'm saying that might not have been the best clip to play. They even mentioned T-Rex a moment later, and I'm sure people are going to go, but that doesn't count, because the context was that Discord trusted T-Rex as they were friends and teammates, and he wouldn't trust Bill. Well, like, yeah, that's true, but that's not the point. The actual argument they're making is fine, though talking about how I feel about the verdict and their arguments is just courting disaster, so I won't do that anymore. The conclusion is very well put together, it goes in depth, it actually feels like it's putting in the effort, which some past episodes this season I don't feel had to support them. Also, corner box after corner box, and then Columbo appears at the end. And the ending glitch with its hidden message is fun too. Probably connects to the end, reveals the 8, whatever. But what can I say? What can I even say? I love this episode. It's not only a love letter to this community that debatably doesn't even deserve it, but a love letter to both characters and shows. A flawless mixture of the cosmic horror of Bill Cipher, the darker tones of Gravity Falls, the silliness of Discord, and the child-friendly nature of My Little Pony. It doesn't diverge too far into one or the other to feel lopsided or off for the other character. It's basically perfect. With two of my favorite analysis segments of all time, two cutaway gags that I actually like, a banger fight full of passion, love, some of the best animation in the show's history, amazing voice acting, fantastic jokes and banger lines, great banter in both dialogue and body language, unexpected but brilliant animation changes, stellar Easter eggs and references, and a conclusion that goes in-depth enough to feel meaty but not ramble on, keeping it concise and well-paced. This is not just my favorite episode of the season so far, but my second favorite episode in the entirety of Death Battle. I adore Bill Cipher vs. Discord. Coming out basically the perfect time for me also helped to elevate it even more. This is just a masterclass in versus content. Simply amazing. Now, am I a little bit salty that I wasn't directly featured in the animation while Red Runner and Gumball Viking, previous alumni of being referenced in episodes, were? A little, but that's fine. I'm not gonna let that get in the way. I wonder what Discord's full letter to Celestia was, though. Probably like, Dear Princess Celestia, today Bill Cipher learned an important lesson about friendship. You mess with the fellas, and you catch the hands. Your faithful servant, the Princess of Friendship. Your mom. Oh, and also the track, Discord and Decipher. Amazing. Name's a bit clunky, but the track bangs. It's also not rap. Stop saying it's rap. I did say at one point that I wanted a track that was like the two talking shit back and forth. Like there's two fights happening at the same time in the animation, but neither addresses the other. That's exactly, I got exactly that. Also, yeah, the track seems to update the cipher. Discord's body enters different symbols, and if you want some tinfoil, I'm assuming the question mark is Billcord, the dollar sign is Masakalua, the lotus is the infinite Tsukuyomi of Veda Roboto, the star is Mansurfer, the black and white waxing moon is Guts Dimitri, the Taijitu is Birdfight, the swords are Chosenborn, the atom is Yamam, and the wave is Stitch versus Rocket. The scales, I imagine, are probably Colex, and also the beaker no longer has a ring around it. It's also still not an actual beaker. A few symbols changed actually. The half moon now looks like a waxing moon, and the lotus is more clearly a lotus. Regardless, this means we have the shuffle symbol, the Jolly Roger, the recycle symbol, the scales that I think are probably Colex, the suit, the pentagram, and the flask. Have fun figuring it out, because I don't really care too much. I spent a lot of time talking already and I'm getting tired. The next time though is Colex, and it's got a lot to live up to. I don't think it's likely to reach the same pinnacle of quality as Billcord, but I hope it still manages to knock it out of the park. I've been waiting a long time for Colex, and unlike Galactus vs Unicron, which frankly I do see as having a chance this year unless it ends up on the ballot vote, which would be the lamest thing ever, because that's not a matchup that needs the ballot to happen, I've not lost interest in Colex. Can't wait, it's gonna hopefully be a blast, just like Billcord, and congratulations to everyone who helped work on the episode, you all did phenomenal. And there we have it, my short, concise review of Bill Cipher vs Discord. One of my favorite episodes of all Death Battle. As I said, I absolutely adore it. I'm sure more problems will come to light as I rewatch it over and over. That's just how things work. But at the same time, with how many hidden things there are, I'm also fairly certain more positives are going to come to light as well the more I watch it. So it's probably going to balance out. I don't do arbitrary rankings anymore, but I think it should go without saying it should be a 10 out of 10 minimum. Tell me what you guys think down below. I am very willing to accept that there are going to be a solid 40% minimum of commenters who are only going to comment on who they think should have won, be angry about it, and then leave in their little carriage of self-righteousness. That's not to say if you disagree you're wrong, and that you shouldn't argue against it if you're respectful and you don't intend any harm. It's completely okay to disagree with the result and to argue against it. It's just not okay to be a huge cockhead about it and just do shitty things, harass people. That's not okay. Just to be clear, because I know I like to make fun of the community sometimes, but there's nothing wrong with disagreeing with Death Battle. There's nothing wrong with arguing either. What's wrong is when you go too far and you start harassing people and you start talking, you start insult people and you just be a huge dick over it, okay? Just want to make clear, and of course, it's okay to disagree with me on your opinion on the episode. If you don't like the episode, that's A-okay, that's A-O-good. And I don't want anyone to harass people who just happen to not like the episode. That's completely fine. That said, I love the episode, and I'm really happy with how it came out. I said it as if I helped make it, I didn't. I'm really happy with how it ended up being. So congratulations to everyone working on this Death Battle. You did a phenomenal job. A lot of people in the last few years have had episodes shoot up to their number 1. Or into their top 3. That hasn't happened with me. The closest was Saitama Popeye. This has changed that. This is now number 2. I would have to completely rethink my top 10 favorite Death Battles, because this is up there right now. Very high in there. So yeah. With that said, if you want, you can support me on Patreon, where linked in the description, where frankly, I don't put a lot of stuff on there, I realize, but whenever I do, no one fucking looks at it. So what am I supposed to do? But if you just come in for only a single $1, that's good enough support for me. It does help, especially with how YouTube loves to just fuck around with monetization, the wankers. No offense, YouTube, I love you. And you also get to join my Patreon-only Discord, where you can make me say stupid things, which we're gonna look at now. Let's see how unfunny everyone is.
Time to pop a cap in your ass, Bill.
Fuck! Oh, brother, these quotes are gonna suck!
That depends on the level of horrific quality we may get.
No, guys, this is not an animation rewind reference. Pack your bags and get out. The real adults will be watching peek the episode.
He may be evenly matched, Bill, but I've seen your show, my two-dimensional nuisance, and I know how you die.
No, I can't.
They'll be like, time, huh?
You're not funny and you never will be!
Hi-ho! Welcome to the Muppet Show! This week our special guest stars are Bill Cipher in Discord, and dear God, what's happening? Oh my God!
I suppose chaos was the wrong angle today. Discord just wasn't equilateral to Bill. The fact that a triangle can literally be a degenerate is something I didn't know, but that's way funnier than I expected.
I'm not gonna read out this whole thing, cause I feel like it'd be disingenuous, but I'm going to echo the sentiment, because I agree. I think it is great that the My Little Pony community, who's been harassed, I mean, always been harassed for a while, but in the Verse community has always continued to be harassed and made fun of for a while now, has now got an episode that everybody loves, almost everybody. I'm not going to pretend like people who don't like it don't exist, as that's clearly okay, as I said. But the majority of people love the episode, and I think that's great. I think it's great that My Little Pony fans can get in on it and enjoy something with everyone. And yeah, like as someone who's now a My Little Pony fan, because I do like Friendship is Magic, I think it's a fine show. It does make me happy that the episode was great. It's got a great reception, especially considering everyone expected, I mean not everyone, but a lot of people expected it to be the next Ben versus Hal. I personally didn't, but you know, massive W. Admittedly, don't know if I'm gonna call myself a brone here. The only like fandom name sort of thing that I generally accept is Trekkie, because I don't know, it just rolls off the tongue better than all the other ones that you could technically apply to me. I guess the archaic trans fan I'm fine with, because hashtag trans rights, but that's not got to do with the actual name and what it's related to.
You've got a stupid hat, and frankly, that bow tie doesn't suit you.
Dap me up, Bill Bros!
Then there was like a whole debate over whether you're a degenerate if you like Bill and all that, and like, I don't I don't know why that happened in the server. Anyway, that was that. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. Hope you guys loved the episode. Have a good one, everyone. And hey, if you want, you can subscribe too. I never say that, but I just felt like saying it this time because, you know, a Death Battle won't shout me out. I don't want to make it seem like that's a problem I have with the episode. It's a joke. It's funny, okay? Bye.
His show is worse than Code of Honor.